We'll start out with a little centering in our chair, and then a few spinal warm-ups for the neck and shoulders, and then we'll get into some postures on the yoga mat. So first, let's establish the posture. You want the feet to be firmly planted in the ground. Don't want to be slouching or leaning back in the chair. Use your postural muscles to stay up tall. Maybe roll the shoulders back a few times to get the shoulder blades on the back and the chest open. Now, from the navel down, imagine that the legs are getting heavier. There's a feeling of grounding and rooting through the legs. Almost like there's a gravity going down through the body, and then there's a rebounding equal energy coming back up through the legs and the spine, holding you in place rather effortlessly. We'll do a little check-in of the body from the head to the toes, so the eyes can be closed or partially open. Relax the space around the brow, relax the eyes, relax the jaw. So if you want to, you can toggle the jaw side to side. It's amazing how we clench our jaw sometimes and don't realize it. Loosen the tongue and swallow a few times to relax your throat. We're going to squeeze the shoulders in order to release them. So inhale, squeeze the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, lower them back down. So sometimes by exaggerating the tension, we realize, oh, I was actually holding my shoulders, and it helps them to release further. Now release the arms out to the sides. And if you have the space for it, inhale and sweep the arms overhead. The top of the inhale, the fingertips touch. Exhale out through the mouth with a sigh as the arms come back by the sides. So you're coordinating the movement to your breath, right? So depending on what your deep breath is, a deep breath without forcing, it shouldn't feel strained, still easy. That's how fast or slow your movement is going to be, right? So if my breath is in on 3, my movement is about the count of 3, and vice versa. We're starting to even out the breath. So the exhale and the inhale become the same length. Now, I'm going at a certain pace, but you might be a lot faster or a lot slower than me, and that's fine. So let's take a little time now for you, even with your eyes closed, or without looking at me for reference, just using your own breath as reference. And already, not only is this changing the rhythm of our breath, but it's also creating presence as we mindfully move our body to the same rhythm as our breath. Do 2 more at your own pace. Good. And then rest the hands again onto the knees when you're ready. And do a little check-in to see how you're feeling. So remember that mindfulness is observing on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So whatever you're observing about your experience right now, there's no judgment, just a full acceptance of what is happening here and now, physically, mentally, emotionally, in your environment. It's all intertwined. So in that space, now you can set an intention for your practice and maybe even for your day. So rather than always reacting to the stimulus, physical, mental, emotional, environmental stimulus, we're choosing how we want to respond. And this will give purpose behind our movements and behind each breath in the practice. So your intention might be to be patient with yourself, to be compassionate with yourself, to come into full acceptance of what is, or just to give yourself a break. On your next inhale, take the thumbs to the occiput. So that's just at the base of your skull here. Hands on the head. We'll bring the chin down towards the chest and start to bring the elbows in towards each other. Maybe you'll start to feel a stretch here in the trapezius muscles around the neck, maybe into the space between the shoulder blades. You can play with that for a few breaths. And on your next inhale, slowly bring your head back up to neutral. Take the elbows out to the sides and now tilt the head up and back into the hands. So at this point, if you want, you can interlace the hands and make a little cradle for the head. Lift the chest up, lift the chin up, and look up to the sky. You can even imagine that if you've ever had a Thai massage or something, somebody's just like gently pulling back on your elbows to help open up the chest. Take a deep breath here into the front of the chest. One more time. And then exhale, release the head. And part of the reason we chose to do some chair yoga at the beginning is so that you can apply this anytime you have like a little break in your day at your chair, at your desk. So we're now going to take the right arm over to the left. It could be the left arm, doesn't really matter. We're going to do both sides. So this is your classic gym class stretch where you're just taking the arm across the body and helping it over with the opposite hand. We're going to add to this and tilt the left ear to the left shoulder if it's your right hand coming over. So wherever the outstretched arm is pointing, turn your head in the same direction. And breathe into the space that you're creating. So this is an example of, releasing built up tension. The neck is one of the places in shoulders, as you probably know, where we tend to accumulate a lot of physical stress and emotional, mental stress, because in yoga, we don't really make a distinction between those things. Right? So with every breath, imagine that you're releasing as the ear comes closer to the shoulder, you're just letting go. You don't have to know what it is, just know that it's being released. And then as a result, increasing your resilience to stress. So inhale, come back to center, and exhale. Let's do the other side. So in this case, for me, it's my left arm coming across, my right hand is just above the elbow, helping it over. And I'm bringing my right ear to the right shoulder. So if you think about it, to hold tension in the body requires energy. And when we release that tension through yoga, through massage, body work, then that energy can be used for something else. Or just, it goes into our energy stores so that we have more energy for later. Good. Inhale, come back to center. We'll do one more shoulder stretch here. Let's take the right arm up, bend the elbow. So your fingertips might be touching your neck or maybe the small of your back here or the upper back in between the shoulder blades. The left hand is coming to the right elbow. We're helping it down and creating a stretch. Perhaps you feel it in your tricep or somewhere around the armpit and chest. And again, we'll add to this by turning the head away from the bent elbow. And whatever you do physically, we want to, as much as possible, be mindful. So know what we're doing it on purpose without judgment. And keeping the breath regular and calm throughout. Good. Release this arm. And let's go over to the other side, bending the elbow and turn the head away from your elbow. Good. Release both arms. So now come forward onto your chair. So you're feeling your sits bones towards the front of the chair. And let's start by bringing our thumbs into our armpits. I know it sounds funny, but you're going to take the thumbs into the armpits and kind of imagine that you're just lifting your chest up this way, lifting the chest up. Hold that here. The chin can be slightly tucked in. Imagine you have a string between your chin and your sternum here, and that you're trying to keep the elastic or the string at the same length the whole time. We're going to take the hands behind us onto the chair, and you can actually push the chair away from you and continue to lift the sternum and the chest up. And then as you take the chin back, lift the chest up higher. And then come back to the center again. And separate the legs a little bit. Let's take our elbows onto our knees. Just come to a neutral spine to start. Nice long spine all the way from the sacrum to the crown of the head. And then depending on how your back is feeling, maybe take it down a little bit further, hands onto the ankles, to the feet, maybe allowing the entire head and upper back to release down towards the earth. You know, this has the added benefit of being an inversion, so it helps to bring some blood to the brain, helping to wake up the brain, the mind. Slowly, with the hands on the knees, you can take yourself back up. Now, you don't need to change anything about your posture. I'm going to turn to my chair to the side so that you can see a little better here. We have one last posture in the chair. So again, this is a short routine that you can always do from home, from your desk. We're taking the legs to the right side of the chair. And then let's take the right hand to the far side of the back of the chair, left hand closest to you. Inhale, lengthen the spine nice and tall, and exhale into a twist. So the right ribs are moving over to a little further to the right. The head turns last. Shoulders down, away from the ears. And maybe here you can experiment with taking a few deeper breaths to feel in the twist that the breath is really coming to imbibe new places in the torso. Just with that nice sponge-like compression. We always want to make sure in our stretches that there's enough room to breathe and that we can still smile in each pose. If you can't smile, you're too far in the pose. All right, so inhale, come back to center. And just like that sponge that's unsqueezing, feel all that, the prana and the blood that is just like having a nice irrigation effect through the whole body. We're going to turn to the other side now. Take the feet over to the left. And I'm going to peek over to see you over my chair this way. So the left hand to the far side of the back of the chair, right hand closest to you. Lengthen first. This is important. Create space between the vertebrae, and then exhale into your twist. On your next inhale, slowly come back to center. Good. So I know you're in a chair for most of the day. So now let's get out of our chair and stand up. Bring the chair, if you have a yoga mat, you can bring it to the front of your mat. Or take the hands onto your chair and see if you can find a flat back. That might mean bending the knees quite generously so that you can still get your lumbar curve, right? So that it's not rounding. Yeah, and then reach forward through the crown of the head and push down through your feet. Now you can either stay here or you might have to back up a little bit so you don't hit your head. You can come to a full forward bend if it feels right for your body. You also have your knees a bit bent if you're doing your forward fold, keeping the belly against the thighs. This will help protect the lower back. Good. And then everybody inhale and come back halfway up to our half forward fold. Take the hands to the hips and push into the feet to come the rest of the way up. Inhale, arms out to the side and up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward, come up. So we're going to our halfway mark. Option to fold all the way down. Inhale, come up halfway, hands on the chair. And then bend your knees this time. Sit back and inhale into chair pose. Right? Or this is really called fierce pose, Utkatasana. Push back as if you're sitting onto the edge of a chair, weight towards the front of the heels, and then push into your legs, come all the way up, and release the arms by the sides. All right, continuing on. Inhale, take the arms overhead. As you exhale, take the hands to the chair, come up halfway, and this time, grab the sides of your chair and move the legs back until you're stretching the whole front of the body. So this is a modified downward dog. Those who are familiar with downward dog, you can push down and away on the chair with your hands and imagine that someone is pulling your hips back. Right, so we're getting a big, nice long stretch along the whole spine. Again, you can have the knees bent here to make it more accessible. Breathe into your side body. On your next inhale, come up onto your chair and step your left foot forward, just in front of the chair. We're going to step the right foot back a little bit and bring the knee to the ground in a lunge. So you might need to take the skin of the knee back a little bit here if the knee is sensitive. If you have a little cushion or a blanket, you can place it under your knee. We'll be here for maybe a minute. So you can either keep your hands on the chair for a bit of support here, or come up a little bit higher. Take the hands on the hips, really point the tailbone down. So we're getting a neutral pelvis here. Maybe you start to feel a stretch in your thigh. And let's inhale, take the right arm up. The left hand is on the hip. Lengthen up and exhale over to the side again. In a different position. Really root down through that front leg, the knee over the ankle. And finishing your exhale, on your next inhale, come back up. Take both hands to your chair and lift the back knee off the ground. Take that back foot in until the foot or your heel can touch the ground. You're straightening your front leg. So this is a modified pyramid pose. We're going to take the left hip back, the right hip forward, and imagine the outer hips moving in towards each other, towards the midline of the body. This will help with that scissoring action. Then push down into your feet and lengthen out through the crown of the head. Now, if you're already feeling a really big stretch here, this is where you stay. Otherwise, you can come down a little lower, hinging from the hips, perhaps with the elbows on the chair, or again, with the hands on the ground. At all times, check in with your jaw, make sure you can still smile, that you're breathing, you're finishing your exhales all the way out. So if the stretches are meant to help us come out of burnout mode, right, or out of a sense of fatigue to redistribute the energy, it makes sense that we don't want to leak our energy during the stretch by either having restricted breath or a clenched jaw, things like that. So that's where the mindfulness and the breath come into play in helping us maximize the benefit in our stretch. Take another deep breath here. And then start to bend that front knee. Take your back foot back a little bit more. So now you're in a lunge, the knee up, the back leg strong, square, scissor the hips. And here you can keep your hand on the chair or maybe have the hand on the ground as we come into a revolved lunge. So you're taking the left side of the chest up. The hand can be on the sacrum or on the hip, left hand. And push into whatever surface you have here. So whether it's your chair or the ground, push into it with your right hand, lengthen, and exhale, release. Let's step both feet to the front of the mat, come to our Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Exhale, fold a little deeper. Bend the knees, sit back, inhale into your chair. And then push into the ground to come all the way up. Exhale, release the arms by the sides. Good. Let's do the other side. Inhale, take the arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up halfway. And again, step back into your modified downward dog. Now, if you're used to doing yoga and you want to do a regular downward dog, by all means, be my guest. Use your mat instead. I personally really like this variation. I find it gives me a really good stretch along the whole spine and sides of the body. Good. So now let's step the right foot forward. Take the left foot back a little bit more. Bring the knee to the ground. And again, adjust as you need to. Maybe taking the skin of the knee back a little more. You can keep the toes curled under here for a little extra support. The right foot is firmly planted in the ground. And we point the tailbone down to get that stretch in the thigh, maybe leaning back a little bit. Let's take the left arm up and over to the side. So always do what you can. Make sure it feels good. I'm not here to torture you guys. Breathe into the space that you're creating in the pose. Inhale, come back up. Take the hands back to your chair. Take that back knee off the ground. Bring your back foot in a little bit until the heel comes to the ground and straighten your front leg. You can straighten it any amount, by the way. It doesn't have to be totally straight, just as long as you start to feel the stretch in the hamstring or somewhere that feels good, maybe along the spine. Again, scissor the hips, bring the outer hips in towards the midline of the body. And either stay here with a straight back or fold a little deeper into the hip socket, either taking the hands onto the chair or the forearms rather, or to the ground. Relax and breathe here as best you can. Push down into the feet, reach out through the crown of the head. And then from here, take the hands back to the sides of the chair if they're not already there. Bend into the front knee a little bit. Step your left leg back further so that you're in a lunge. And with the legs strong, scissor the hips. Take your right hand to your hip or to your sacrum. Roll the right shoulder back and open up into your twist. And breathe. Push back through that back heel. Maybe go a little deeper into your lunge with the front knee. All right. Take both hands to your chair, step forward, come up halfway. And then this time we'll go straight up and take your hands to your hips. Inhale, take the arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Take the hands onto the sides of your chair. Step back again, so we're back into our downward dog, our chair downward dog. But from here, let's inhale, come forward, hands on the chair. Maybe you need to take your feet back a little bit. We're in a modified plank position here. So push into the chair with the hands, line your wrists with your shoulders, push back with your heels, lengthen out through the crown of the head. So chair yoga, not necessarily boring, right? So now come forward onto your tippy toes, onto the tips of the toes, and roll the shoulders back and lift up into a modified upward facing dog. And exhale back into downward facing dog with the chair. Again, you can do your vinyasa on the mat if that's part of your practice already. Inhale, come forward. Let's do it one more time. Come into your modified plank. Come onto your tippy toes. Bring the chest forward between the arms. And then exhale back into your downward dog. Good. And then step forward. Let's one more time bend the knees, maybe this time with the toes together. Sit back. Inhale into your chair position. Sit back a little deeper, lift the chest up. This is a really good place to practice what I talked about at the beginning, where you're creating a little bit of distance between the witnessing part of your mind, the present part of yourself, and your experience. So in the uncomfortable position of the chair pose, can you still finish your exhales? Can you still smile? Can you notice what's going on and without judgment? Good. And push into the feet, come all the way up. Exhale, hands by the side. You might feel your heart beating a little faster here. And it's really great. As soon as we change our state, it's easier to change our story, changes how we feel. It's amazing how much we can affect our own state. So just you being here and taking this class, kudos. It's really making a difference. So I'm going to show you one stretch, another great stretch that you can do if you have a chair or a wall. Either one is great. Cross your right ankle over the left knee, just above the knee, and start to bend your left knee. Now this is where the chair might come in handy. You can place the hands on the chair and sit back until you start to feel the stretch in the outer hip here. So this is like a standing pigeon pose, those that know pigeon. And this can be done, again, with the hands on the chair, or maybe the hands on the ground, depending on your level. All right, so the crown of the head still reaching. Enjoying this wonderful stretch, which is totally transposable into your day. Good. And slowly rising up, take the hands to the hips and place the foot back on the ground. Let's do the other side. Cross just over the knee with your left foot. Flex the foot to protect the ankle, to protect the knee. We really want the rotation to be happening in the hip. And we're sitting back and bending the knee just enough that we get that nice juicy stretch in the left hip. Slowly coming back up and place the foot back on the ground. All right, let's come back onto our chair now. So I'm moving my chair around so that again you can see me a little better. And so again, take a few moments like you were at the beginning of class in your chair, sits bones on the chair, feet on the surface, shoulders relaxed, spine tall. And just notice if already you feel different than you did the first time that you sat to observe how you feel. Still mindfully, meaning that you're observing on purpose in the present moment, non judgmentally, perhaps coming back to that intention at the beginning of class of the quality that you were cultivating or the attitude that you were cultivating towards yourself. And start to take a few deeper breaths now. Feel yourself getting energized with every inhale and relaxed with every exhale. And that is the optimal state that Hatha Yoga, sun, moon, yin yang brings us into, where we are both alert and relaxed at the same time. And this is like the ultimate state to be in, to just enjoy life, to be productive. It's usually a good sign if at the end of a yoga practice, that's how you feel. Not too drowsy, not too hyper, just in the middle. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope this was helpful for you.